Okay, so in chapter 2, we're going to start talking about linear transformations. And what we're really going to look at is we're going to look at the basic of what happens if we do something to the, if we want to find a new mean, if we want to find a new interquartile range, and we have this formula. Basically, it's when we think, I don't want you to think of linear transformation right now as a line, even though it's going to look like a line. What we're really thinking about is, like, you want to convert, you had everything in inches and the problem required you to do to centimeters, right? Well, I don't want to have to convert every one of those pieces in my data set to centimeters. There's an easier way, and that's what we consider a linear transformation. So what you need to know is that we'll have x new. So this means this is going to be our new mean, our new median, something like that, okay? Equals a plus bx. So what this is it tells us each one of these things, it does something. So A, it shifts all values of x up or down by the same amount. Which you probably know that because it's a constant term. So the A shifts us up and down by the same amount. Okay. B, and each one of these shifts affects one of our measures of center and our spread a certain way. So you guys know that B, just from knowing graphing a line, multiplying by the constant, oh, and I forgot a word, positive constant B changes the size of the unit measurement. It looks a lot like y equals a plus bx. And we are going to do that in chapter 3. But what we are going to look at is how multiplying or adding something changes the measures of center and the measures of spread. So there's some effects of linear transformation. Okay. First thing that you need to know is that linear transformations do not change the shape of the distribution. So if you have a roughly symmetrical distribution and you do a linear transformation, the new linear transformation is going to be roughly symmetrical. It's not going to change that shape. If it was right skewed, if you do a linear transformation, it's going to stay right skewed. It's not going to change that shape at all. So whatever you do, you got to remember, it's not going to change that shape. Now, a lot of times when they ask questions on the AP Stats exam, you guys, and they're talking about a linear transformation or they give you data, they're going to ask you what happens to the shape, what happens to the measure of center. Sometimes it's not the math that they're interested in, more of do you know how it affects the measures of center and the spread. Sometimes they'll do the math, and you can do the math longhand. This is a concept, but you do need to know what it affects, what that transformation affects. Okay. So the first thing is, what happens when you multiply each observation by a positive number b? So what happens when you multiply each observation by a positive number b? Okay, so when you're multiplying by a positive number b, both measures, can you guys see this? Both measures of center, that's the mean and median, and measures of spread, that's the IQR and standard deviation. Are multiplied by b. So if you have 60% of, right, you have 3 times as much, right? So that means that b, that multiplication b, it affects both the standard deviation, the measures of spread, and the measures of center. It changes everything. Okay? So that multiplication, oh, hey, you know what? We really need to double these because they were double the size, or the scale was off. Something like that. That right there, or you say it increased 10%. You guys, increase 10%, that's multiplication, okay? It's going to affect because percent, right? 10% of something, multiplication. So when you're multiplying by that positive constant, it's going to affect spread and measures of center. What happens when you add the same A. To each observation. I'm going to run out of room.